You're too late. I've already summoned Meteor.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the L2R2 PlayStation Podcast. My name's Fonzie. I'm joined by my co-host, indie game dev, and my UK bruv from another mum, Callum Rowe. Callum, it's been a little while. How have you been?
Yeah, I've been good. Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure that my computer behaves itself. Just because it started doing some, you were doing some Dalek noises for a second there, but it managed
Whoa.
to come back round. So yeah, all good. Just very cold. It's a bit, the weather's not the nicest the past few days, but I don't know about you guys. We had about 2 weeks of pure sunshine. And when I say sunshine, I mean like actual heat, and it was really odd. It was like summer had come early, but looks like normality has prevailed, and we're back to the rain and the cold. So that's always nice.
That sucks. Yeah, it's just starting to turn around here in the Northwest where we're getting little bits of like springtime stuff going on. It's getting warmer.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, although it did.
You've stolen our nice weather.
Yeah, we'll take it. I mean, you guys don't, respect it over there. You got to get out there in the sun. But like it on my way to work just like 2 or 3 days ago, there was little bits of snowfall coming down, and I was just pissed off driving because like, what are we doing? Like we're past this already, but it went away. It was just like this little dandruff that was in the air, and then we're fine. But I think we're kind of past winter time, and
Yeah.
I'm super glad because I just hate the winter every year. It sucks even more, and that wintertime seasonal depression just hits me, and I'm just like, I'm over it. I need to move somewhere where it's just constantly warm. I'm just tired of it.
Yeah. I think once you get through March, because I mean, for me, I'm still not convinced that we haven't seen any snow, and like I said, the past 2 weeks have been very, very warm. So it would be strange to get snow, but that's normally what happens. I'd say once March is done, then I'm confident that that's the worst of it gone. But until it's April, I wouldn't be surprised if it started snowing down here, because the weather is just crazy and unpredictable. And I mean, I always see like on Facebook and things where it shows you your memories, and like I'll look on and I'll see like 4 years ago it was snowing, and then I'll look outside and it's like a beautiful sunny day, and it's yeah, really strange. But yeah, hopefully, because I'm not a fan of the snow either, hopefully it's the worst is over and we can look forward to some nice days and also some freedom too, because looks like lockdown is ending very, very soon. So hopefully that's will all coincide together.
Yeah, it's getting better. Like there's way more stuff in the news about the different vaccines rolling out and a lot more people getting them. And there's even that Johnson and Johnson, I want to say one, where it's like one shot. They need to just figure out the technology to put it into a plane and just airdrop whatever streams or fumes of the vaccine.
Airborne vaccine, that'd be great.
They need to just get that going, or put it in the water or something. But yeah. So it's been a little while. Callum, been playing some games. What you been playing?
I'm just trying to think. So I've been playing a lot, but I want to only talk about the games that I have things to say about. So I've been playing a lot of Remnant from the Ashes on my PlayStation, because it's the PlayStation Plus game.
What do you think about that?
And yeah, I really, really like it. It took me a while to get into it. I've been playing it with my friends. I haven't played it on my own yet, but yeah, I think it's really cool. I think the beginning was not very good. You could tell that the beginning was just tacked on at the end, because the game is very complex and very, it intertwines with lots of different playthroughs and different versions of worlds, cause it's mostly procedural. But yeah, I think it's really cool. As I started sort of dropping into friends' campaigns, and then them dropping into mine, and then us dropping into like a third or fourth friends campaign, we've been like sort of rotating, and because it's only 3 players, but we've been sort of joining each other's worlds and all of that. That's where it really shines, because you can do a whole playthrough and not see half the bosses. So joining someone else's world, you might run into a boss you've never seen before. Each boss will give you like a unique weapon or a mod or something like that. And that's just a really fun gameplay loop. It's really fun trying to find all the bosses, trying to figure out where you're going. So it's very directionless in a good way. It doesn't really tell you what you're meant to be doing. It's very, very Dark Souls inspired in how it tells the story for its NPCs, and in a lot of other ways. But yeah, I really like it. It's very complicated. which I quite like because I always like co-op games that require a lot of thought and research. You know, we've been having to Google a lot of things and find out how the best way to do things, and you know how to beat some of the bosses, because some of the bosses are very hard. And but yeah, I think that I mean, I've got like 60% of the trophies, so I'm pretty much like I've pretty much seen most of the things it has to offer. But yeah, I'm really I mean, all of us guys who are playing it, we're all really keen on, you know, beating it all, getting all of the weapons, beating all the bosses, seeing everything there is to see, and yeah, I'm having a really good time with that. It's yeah, it's really good fun.
Nice. Yeah, I have a lot of the same feelings. I played for maybe about 3 hours with my buddy Gavin. We played through PC.
Mm.
This was maybe 2 weeks before they announced it was going to be a free PlayStation Plus game. So I
Mhm.
bought it after he was telling me to get it, which is it's fine. It was like $20
Yeah,
on Epic,
yeah.
but runs really great on PC. Yeah, I was having the same enjoyment that you were having with. You mentioned it's complicated. It is, but it's for a dummy like me. It's like approachable. I can still kind of wrap my head
Mhm.
around what's going on and how to progress, what to do. I really dug there is allusions to like Dark Souls with the mechanics, but I hate those games. I want to love those games,
Mm.
and this one was just it really hit with me where I was able to
Yeah.
have fun and still progress and still felt
Mm.
like even though it's challenging, I can still grind and get through it. I love the gunplay, really dope. This
Yeah.
world's super unique too with this Lovecraftian kind of thing going on
Mm.
and the steampunk. Yeah, I want to play more of it. We were jumping into each other's worlds, and it's a really cool idea. I love that this is a free PlayStation Plus game. I think they nailed it with this.
Mm.
And yeah, so you said you were about like 60% of the trophies in. Do you think does it start to repeat itself at all? Like, does it give you kind of this, satisfying progression system, or does it start to kind of use the same beats over and over?
Yeah, so I think its progression system is what keeps it satisfying. So, um, you know, when you beat a boss, the first time you beat that boss, you'll get a crafting material from it, and that can either get you a mod which you can put on your weapons, or it'll get you a boss weapon which will have, you know, its own mod on it or whatever. And uh, the upgrade system, which heavily influences, you know, the entire game, just going back to your base and upgrading your weapons and your armor. um, that's what sort of keeps you going, because the materials you need are tiered. So there'll be a point where you can't upgrade your weapon you use all the time anymore, because you need higher tier stuff, and sometimes those materials don't come until you're a certain gear level, and until you know, you're a certain you have a certain power and your stats are at a certain point or whatever. So you know, it can tempt you to spend these lower materials that are basically useless on other weapons, and try out different weapons and these different mods and things. And so yeah, I think its progression system is pretty cool, just because you know, you get things like traits, which are like your skill points, which you discover more and more of them as you do different things, which is pretty fun. And yeah, so just from jumping in and out of each other's worlds, you know, we might jump into a friend's world and he'll be fighting a boss for the first time, but two of us have already fought it. So he'll get that, he'll get the mods that we've already got, or the weapon that we've already got, but we'll get you know, scrap and materials in return or something like that. So it's pretty, it is, I think the progression system is definitely what brings you through. It's obviously procedurally generated to a point where it seems like it's large areas that are kind of swapped around. So it's not, I mean, you'll definitely notice areas you've been to before. It can get a little bit repetitive, just because it only has like 4 worlds, I think, that you go to.
Mm.
But yeah, I think just the the want to find everything, find all the bosses, because you know, you might go through a door where you previously had fought a boss on a different world, and it'll be a boss you've never seen before, and that's quite exciting because you know you're getting something you haven't got yet, which I think is quite unique as well. Um, but yeah, I think that the difficulty, I don't think it's terribly hard. I think it's quite easy as a co-op game. You know, as long as you work together and you sort of understand and you've upgraded your guns, and you know, you're not under leveled or anything, I think it's very approachable. Although there was a boss that we fought recently, which took us about 2-3 hours, which was very, very difficult. But yeah, I mean, it's a very unique game. I don't really know. I find it difficult to articulate why I like it so much, because it is very unique, and I didn't like it at first very much until it wasn't until we started joining each other's worlds, and realizing that the bosses are unique to your world in some respects, and that a boss might not even be in someone's world, but it might be one of the first bosses you fight in yours. And um, I think having the trophies helps that as well, because I get to see all the bosses on the trophies and then know which ones I haven't seen yet and things like that. There's lots of mini bosses as well, but yeah, it's a really cool idea, and you can tell that because the progression system is very complicated. The just the way the game unfolds becomes very complicated when you start going to the labyrinth, and you start getting very Dark Souls-esque quests where they don't really tell you what to do, but
Mm.
so you have to kind of figure that out yourself. And you get lots of characters asking you for the same thing, so you have to kind of pick a side, and that can result in you having to fight them. But it's not, you don't get like given an objective, so it's very interesting to stumble upon these sort of hooks and these things. So yeah, I mean, I'm really really enjoying it, and I'm finding it fun to play for a few hours at a time, and getting some good gear and finding some new bosses. And but yeah, it's a really great game, and it's a perfect free game as well, because it seems to have a good community of people who know what they're doing as well. So it's good for new people coming in, setting their game to public, and really enjoying this sort of co-op network that they've created. So yeah, I'm really really enjoying it.
Nice. Yeah, with the bosses that you might not see, I was in the same situation with Gavin where he was playing with me and it was my first playthrough, but he had been a couple hours
Mhm.
already into it. And yeah, my beginning, entry point with the first boss that I encountered in our playthrough was different from his. I really love that
Yeah,
idea. Do you think
yeah.
the strengths are in that multiplayer aspect of having your buddies with you? Do you think this would stand alone as a single player game, or would it not have that same satisfying loop?
No, I don't think it has much to offer from a single player perspective. I mean, they do try and do that by allowing you to re-roll your own campaign. So that means that if you beat the campaign, or you might get to an area where you're just stuck and you don't know where you're meant to go because you might have killed an important character, or explored very heavily throughout a world but not quite know where you're going, so you can just re-roll it and start again. And what that does is it will level everything to whatever your gear level is. So basically, every time you upgrade either your armor or your weapon, it will change your gear level, and that's what it bases the sort of enemies around you on. So yeah, I think playing co-op is definitely aimed towards that, because going into other people's worlds and seeing how theirs is different, and even helping them out as you get more experience, that's always fun as well. um, and yeah, I think it just makes it very simple in how it gives you weapons by killing bosses. Bosses will give you unique items that you can only get from killing them, so that makes you hungry to find more bosses, because you want to collect everything and get these special items that will really help you out. So yeah, I think the co-op's definitely the best thing about the game. But if you don't have any friends to play with, you can just join other people's games, and that works just as well and just as fine. And it has a nice ping system. And I mean, I'm normally in party chat, so whenever randoms join us, we can't hear them, but they seem to always be active in the voice chat. So it has a great community. So even if you don't have anyone to play it with, it's still the best way to play it by joining other people and turning yours into public so people can join you.
Gotcha. Yeah, with so Gavin just joined the chat asking who these nerds are. But yeah, we're the ones we're playing together, and I think yeah, I
Mhm.
mean the strength is playing with your buddies if you can, and just traversing this world and exploring and
Mhm.
finding these really creepy looking bosses and enemies, and just
Yeah,
progressing through the system through the story and
yeah.
the mechanics rather. But yeah, no, I had a blast, and I do want to spend some more time with it. I don't know if Gavin ever played any more of it after our time, but
Mhm.
yeah, great PlayStation Plus game. I know I downloaded it, just haven't jumped into the PlayStation version. I would love if my stuff carried over, but I highly doubt it with this title. But
Well, if you want to play with us, you're more than welcome. I mean,
yeah,
we've been playing for a while, so we can, because it's one of those games where you do need to play for, I'd probably say, like 6 or 7 hours before you really start to get what the game's all about. I mean, like I said, it took me a while for it to really click with me, and it wasn't until I joined maybe my third or fourth friend's world, and I then realized, like, oh my god, this boss like didn't even show up for me,
Mm.
and then realizing that that boss then gave me this really cool weapon which I could then take into my world and all the other worlds and everything. And you know, the first time we met like this really main character who you can just choose to fight if you like, or you can accept his quest, and then you meet somebody else who's basically asking for the same thing, so you have to pick a side. And at first it's very you know, it doesn't really tell you much, and it's very obscure, so you don't really take much notice. But the more you play it, the more you explore the different ways you can approach these sort of quests and things, the more enticing it is to do it again and try it a different way. Um, yeah, so if you ever want to play it with us, just let us know, because I mean that just means it's another world for us to go into, and we should be nicely leveled to pull you through anyway. So, but yeah,
Nice.
it's a really good game, and I'm really glad I downloaded it and tried it out.
That's awesome. How's it running on the PlayStation? So I've played on PC, and it's, you know, I'm
Mhm.
playing at 60 frames per second, all that PC nonsense in it. You know, runs great, plays amazing, but how's it on
Yeah,
PlayStation?
yeah, runs smooth, looks really nice. There's some really cool environmental bits that look amazing. Again, the introduction cutscene and just the introduction in general has a far lower quality than the rest of the game, and I've no idea why. Again, I think it might be because this base game is so complex and so well thought out that perhaps this introductory necessity of trying to give you or your character relevance to the story
Mm,
was just tacked on at the end. Um, yeah, I mean, it looks nice. It runs fine, runs smooth. My friends who are playing on PS4, they were saying they were getting quite bad frame drops, so it seems like maybe it is at least performing better on the PS5. But I mean, nothing. You know, I haven't noticed anything like, oh, that looks really amazing, or it's running. It's probably running at maybe 30, but constant. I wouldn't say it feels quite 60, but I've had no complaints or stutters or anything like that.
I wonder if behind the scenes the devs can, I imagine, gain access to see how many downloads they've received on PlayStation
Mm,
Now as a free game, and to add that to their decision to go with, should we offer like a PS5 upgrade as we have
mm,
adopted now these new
yeah,
fans? Like, I wonder if that's in play, but it'd be cool to see
mm,
this, you know, upgraded, whatever
yeah.
upgrades you can get on that PS5 version.
Yeah, well, me and a friend, we've enjoyed it so much that we end up buying the DLC, because like a lot of PlayStation Plus games, when they come for free, the DLC they will then go on sale as well. And the two DLC packs were like £4 a pop. So we got both of them, and we meddled a little bit in one of them, but it was very confusing, like the game is when you first start it. The sort of new mode was, we didn't really understand why certain things were happening in a certain way. So we decided we're going to completely beat the campaign and then probably tackle the DLC later when we're a bit more prepared for it.
Gotcha. Nice, Callum. Any other crazy games you've been jumping into?
I've actually been playing the new Call of Duty,
Oh,
which has surprised myself.
yeah, I was gonna say you're kind
And
of you know, like to poo
yeah,
poo on the Call of Duty stuff, but so you're
yeah,
playing Cold War?
yes, yeah, yeah. Black Ops Cold War. I've been playing the multiplayer. I've only played the multiplayer so far. I definitely want to jump into the campaign and the zombies as well. But the multiplayers, you know, is fine. I'm really awful at it, which is really depressing, because I used to be really, really good at Call of Duty back when there were like 3 attachments per gun, and now it's just noise everywhere. Like there's like a million different attachments, and they all do so much for your gun. So it's really quite inaccessible for new players, which I've definitely found, and it's
Mm.
quite frustrating. But it plays really well. The controller feels really nice with it. Looks nice. I have been getting some frame drops at 4K in some maps, which I don't know if that's down to the ray tracing or anything like that, but that's been quite annoying. But yeah, do you know what? I definitely prefer it to Modern Warfare's multiplayer, as in the newest Modern Warfare, just because I think the maps are designed for multiplayer maps, whereas I think the Call of Duty Modern Warfare maps they were trying to make them look as real and as nice as possible, kind of like Battlefield, and it just didn't work for the kind of game it was. So yeah, I've been enjoying that. That's been nice. I think from playing Remnant and being in party chat with my friends, which I don't normally do, has just spurred me on to play that with them as well. So, but it's on sale at the moment. It's down from 65 to like £47, which I thought for Call of Duty is not too bad. Um, so yeah, just been playing a little bit of that as well. And the only other game I've been playing is Persona 5 Strikers, which I've been putting like a few hours a night into.
Gotcha. You know what? I would have thought if you're jumping into Call of Duty, you would have been more keen to try the single player, the campaign. Do you have any interest in doing that, or are you more focused
Yeah,
on multiplayer?
definitely. Yeah, I'll definitely be trying the campaign out. I think I've sort of been doing like a few matches or so with my friends, and I'll do the single. I'm sort of treating the single player like a separate game. Like once I've beat Persona 5 Strikers and once I've beat Ratchet and Clank, then I might jump into it. But yeah, I'm definitely interested to see what it's like. They're always, good, popcorn stories and
Right.
good fun, and I'm sure it will look nice because the campaigns always look much nicer than the multiplayer does. So yeah, and I noticed there's a 120 hertz mode as well, which is interesting, but I don't have a 120 hertz TV, so I might have to try it on my monitor, even though it will be at 1080p, which would be a shame, but
It's disgusting.
still it would be nice to see. Disgusting, yeah.
What about the Warzone? Does that ever interest you at all?
I don't understand what it means because I know Warzone was the free-to-play battle royale, and then there's like is there another? Is this a new Warzone, like a new map? Or
So no,
I
it just
don't
gives
really
you.
get it.
It's the same map. It just gives you access to Warzone, and really it's free. It's standalone. You could download that on its own, but it's always like a part of whatever new Call of Duty now comes
Yeah.
out. But yeah, it's just that open world map with all these different little spots, and it's not that same kind of calibrated corridors you get from the regular multiplayer. It's just free for all where everyone gets to jump around,
Yeah.
just like Fortnite. But I do have a lot of fun playing that because there's so many variances, different things that can happen with the guns being in random spots every time, and really having to watch your perimeter in 360 degrees where it's like anything can happen. I have a blast playing that, but I don't know if you doesn't seem like that really reaches out to you.
I've played it before, and I like it. I've only got one win on it, and I remember that when we got the win, it was one of like the best moments I've ever had.
Yeah.
It was really, really good. It like because it kind of plays out like an extraction, and it felt like I don't know whether it was just like one of those things I'll probably never recreate again, but it is good fun. I just find battle royale exhausting. Just the matches are too long. There's too much riding on it. Yeah, I just find it too just consuming, like mentally consuming, and I prefer the short, matches that are just contained. And yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of battle royale just because of how long it takes to just have a match. I mean, especially if you do well, they can be
Right.
sort of like hour-long matches. It's the same with like the zombies, for example. I really enjoy Call of Duty Zombies, but I just get exhausted so quickly because you're in there for so long that once you die or once you fail, I'm not one of those people who can just go again. I struggle to play multiple Warzone matches in a row or multiple zombie playthroughs in a row just because if you do well, you end up spending so much time in it, and I just don't have it in me to go again and again.
Well, if you're a player like me, none of the matches last very long because I'm always dying instantly, and I've yet to actually like win an actual Warzone match and see those credits roll and the extraction. It looks fun, but I've never made it that far. But I'm often playing alone too, so that's part of it. But how's this doing for your PS5's hard drive? Because I know it's like a terabyte or whatever to download this thing onto your PS5.
It's just ridiculously confusing because I mean, that was what put me off buying it in the first place, was the fact that it says minimum size 225 gigabytes, which is just an embarrassing number for a game to be like. It's just, and that's why I didn't want to buy it, literally out of spite for that being so ridiculous. I've never in my life downloaded anything that big at all. But once you buy it, it gives you like a list of literally like 12 different things to download because it shows you all the PS4 stuff. So I don't know whether it's adding up a lot of stuff you don't need, but I don't think it's taken up 225 gigabytes unless that's including the campaign, zombies, and multiplayer, which I think it might be because they seem to install separately, even though I didn't tell them to. So I don't know, but I did notice that I don't have any room to install another game. So I am definitely feeling it. And it's quite irritating. So I don't know how much longer it will last on my hard drive. But yeah, it's the rumors are true. It's a rather large game.
Yeah, it's one of those things where they really haven't explained why, and I think it just comes down to an optimization issue and
Yeah,
all this clutter and
it's
extra stuff that doesn't need to be
they
there.
can't even explain it.
Right.
There's just no. It is embarrassing. I mean, I would be embarrassed if it was my game. It's I just don't understand, and I get it's a lot of content. I
Sure.
mean, the campaign, the zombies, and the multiplayer are like 3 different games, but I just don't know. I don't know why. I just don't know. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I mean, there is a lot of stuff, like there's a lot of bundles, and I've never seen so many microtransactions in my life. So many different things to buy,
Yeah.
and it's just the noisiest interface on the multiplayer because it's constantly trying to show you these things that you can buy and these skins and these bundles and the battle pass. And I mean, it's really just an awful thing to have to see for a game that on sale I spent £47 on. It really could honestly be free to play, and they probably would make more money just down to the player base they would get from doing that. So it is kind of disgusting in that respect. But when you're in the game, it plays really well.
Yeah.
It plays much more like Call of Duty than Modern Warfare did. The maps I think are great. I think it's a return to form for the maps, but Treyarch normally deliver in that respect. The only problem I have is they've given way too much agency to attachments and different perks and things, and the ranking system is completely confusing. Like my friends who are really into it couldn't even explain to me how that works. So it's got a lot of problems, but when you're in the game just playing and doing well, it plays well. The gun plays very, very tight, looks really nice, and the controller works great too. So can't complain too much.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's one of those things where I mean, yeah, once you're in that core gameplay experience, it's awesome. That's why they're, considered AAA and releasing every year. Like they're doing that part right. But when it comes to the UI or how they organize that information for the user, they really don't care about like the user experience.
Mhm.
Seems like they're just
No.
bombarding you with DLC stuff or transactions and making it really complicated to, get your brain around what's going on unless you're fully into that world. But even for fans that are, it's like still you have to learn a separate language for just understanding various bits. But yeah, I mean, I still have fun playing those games, but yeah, there's a lot that could be optimized and worked on. But that's cool to see you're jumping in there.
I think the saddest thing is, as a fan of like Call of Duty 4 and Modern Warfare 2 and all these older Call of Duties, I think this one in particular has become like a blatant, not pay to win, even though I mean it definitely is pay to win because you can pay to get better guns and better attachments, but the fact that the attachments hold such agency over how that your guns act, like for example, your attachments are based. Your attachments dictate how quickly you aim down sights, how quickly you can aim from sprinting, how quickly you can do all of these things that completely dictate who's going to win in a one-on-one gunfight. And I think that's just wrong because you play Call of Duty 4, you play Modern Warfare 2, you can run around with any of those guns with no attachments on, and it'll be a complete level playing field as it should be.
Right.
Whereas on the new Call of Duty, you join as a new player, you have no attachments, and you honestly just have little to no chance of beating anybody because their guns aim quicker, they can aim them quicker from sprinting, they'll do more damage, their bullets will shoot faster. It's just a very unbalanced game, which is a real shame because Call of Duty, I think, have always done it quite well. I think they've always been well balanced, and obviously they've had guns that are very overpowered, but you've always felt like you have the same chance as everybody else to do well. If somebody's killing everybody with a certain gun, you get that gun out,
right?
Something like that. But this is to the point where you actually need to grind a gun before it is even good. So that's quite disappointing. But yeah, it's still good fun to play.
So Gavin in the chat says to bring back the noob tube, and I'm not sure what the noob tube is, but
it's the little shlum like grenade launcher on the bottom of the gun. But there is actually a grenade launcher in it, which I haven't used yet because I am a noob. But it must have like 100 grenades in it, and I think pretty sure it can unload all 100 of those grenades in about 5 seconds. Yeah, so there is definitely a noob tube in it. I've no idea what it's called. I've no idea how you use it, but I've been killed by it many, many times.
Gotcha. And we'll end our, Call of Duty rant here in a bit, but I wonder if it's just the entire series as a whole, it's a victim of its own success where they have to keep innovating and adding and, refreshing the gameplay so they keep, adding these features and kind of bombarding it with all this different stuff going on. It's almost like, but you can't really do a full reset because everyone's used to all these different features. And I wonder how they progress. Where do they do some kind of like offshoot Call of Duty that is more bare bones and without a lot of these newer upgrades, and then kind of keep those same fans that do enjoy all these different new additions, keep them going with this new Call of Duty? I wonder how they progress forward.
It's just the lack of competition. I think they have nobody in that FPS multiplayer space. Maybe Rainbow Six Siege, but that's coming to a point now where I think that community is so hardcore because it's been out for so long that people are ready to play the next thing. So I don't think they have a huge amount of competition. Battlefield, I think, trying to go down the live service route and also not sticking to modern warfare was a bit of an issue. So I think, yeah, Call of they just have no competition, so they can do what they like. They can fill it with as many microtransactions they want. They can mess around with the balancing as much as they want because nothing's going to pull people away from it. So it'd be interesting to see what Battlefield 6 does, which I'm really optimistic for some reason. Just the fact it's returning to modern warfare, I don't know how they could get it wrong. I think Battlefield 5 still played really well. It just wasn't very fun. So I think it'll be interesting to see what Battlefield does and whether they can capitalize on what is quite a broken and unbalanced sort of game in Call of Duty. But yeah, there just really is nothing that I know of that can really compete with it.
You're right. Really, Battlefield's the only thing on their same level, and I am excited to
Mm-hmm.
see. The rumor is they're shooting for end of this year, so I'm hopeful that they make it and
Yeah.
they put the pressure on the studios over handling the Call of Duty franchise and have them, just like you said, compete and adjust and react to them. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
All right, Callum. Well, we can switch over to, we got the PlayStation book club happening right now. We got to play Crack in Time, Ratchet and Clank, A Crack in Time, and both of us, we didn't get to beat it, but we played a good amount of it. And I know we're both super positive on it, so let's switch to that. Our time with Ratchet and Clank, A Crack in Time. Give me the overview of what you thought going in and what you think of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's got all of the things that Ratchet and Clank does so brilliantly, which is, its level design is just meticulously crafted. I mean, every level is just a joy to explore and to find all the hidden things like the golden bolts and the weapon upgrades and everything. The weapons are great fun. It's hilarious, brilliantly written. Very, I mean, its cinematics are incredible as well. It's like watching a animated film. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I've got a lot of positives to say about it. So, but I don't know where to start.
Yeah, same. Where as far as the story, the characters, we can start there. I'm in the same field where I love the just the characters you interact with, like the worlds you go to. One of the first worlds you go to that's very foresty and kind of just bright and colorful. You have these weird little alien dudes that have this kind of strange grunt right at the end of what they're saying. It's just adorable.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you have to kind of gather these little children around and get them together. I think there's like mushrooms attacking them. I often don't know what's going on, but I love that world.
Yeah.
It's just so much character and hilarity in how they unfold the story. They're masters at that, and it's on full display with A Crack in Time. I love when you get to play as Clank too. We'll get into the gameplay, but yeah, I think story wise, character wise, I'm having a blast.
Yeah, it's there's not many things that do this, I don't think. But as somebody who likes to write and everything, this is one of those things where you're like, I could never in a million years write anything as perfectly executed as this. I mean, from just the timing of the funny lines, from the voice acting as well, and the direction that they must be given is just top. It's proper like cinematic like excellency in what it's trying to achieve. And um yeah, it's, I mean, just every single little interaction, even the little barks that the NPCs will give off. I mean, later on in the game, when you go to like the city, and they're just like, you just overhear them saying things, and just everything is just, it's just brilliant. It's so charming. I actually think the story is really interesting as well, with the clock, um, and with Ratchet obviously meeting a friend of his father's, and it sort of expands on Quest for Booty and Tools of Destruction, with the disappearance of the Lombexes and everything. And yeah, it's just such a joy. And one thing I want to say about is, I mean, I'm sure we'll definitely get into like the space exploration as well, because I think that's really great. But one of the radio stations, the pirate radio station, the music is fantastic on it, but also it's the sort of radio host is Rusty Pete from Quest for Booty.
Oh, really?
Who sort of narrated a lot of that game, and he is just, I don't know who voices him, but I need to find out, because he is just brilliant, just so funny. And the music that plays on that radio station's great. It's so fun, sort of just whizzing around in your ship, doing all the little side quests and exploring the little asteroids and everything. It's just such a joy to play. It's so much fun.
Yeah, let's jump into some of the gameplay. So you mentioned the space exploration. There's a lot of variance in just the gameplay itself. So you have the
Mm.
platforming with Ratchet. You have the space exploration and space fight scenes, dog fights that you have in your ship, and then you also have Clank with his like time-based puzzles and his own
Mm.
platforming. I just love how my big takeaway is like how much different stuff you can do in the game, and how it's always keeping it fresh and not
Yeah.
spending a bunch of time, or too much time rather, in each different component. And
Yeah.
it's my biggest takeaway, where it's like I want more platformers to do that. It's kind of a genre that has gone by the wayside recently, but for sure with the Clank, Ratchet and Clank series, like they're always trying to just
Mhm.
keep the gameplay fresh, and I love it in this one.
Yeah, I think it's something I said about Quest for Beauty, which I was clearly wrong about, was because it was so short. Well, firstly, I thought it was so short because Ratchet and Clank were separated, which obviously I was wrong about, because they are separated in this one, but they wanted to go into so much detail gameplay wise, with them both having their own sort of spotlight, I suppose. Um, and so that makes sense as to why it was as short as it was. But also, because it was so short, Quest for Booty, I it seemed so well paced, because it was so
Mm.
intricate, and so they didn't have a lot of different levels and things like that, so they could really make sure it was honed in perfectly. But I'd say A Crack in Time is paced even better. Like you said, they trickle out new gameplay mechanics, new weapons, new gadgets that allow you to interact with the environment differently. The space exploration has its own myriad of different things, like exploring the little asteroids, and even they in themselves have their own little puzzles and mechanics to sort out. You've got the side quests, which where kind of similar to Remnant and Dark Souls, where just random characters will ask you for things, so you'll just be on the lookout for those things whilst you're playing. And the space battles, and yeah, Clank's time. There's just so many different things that are just constantly being trickled out throughout the game, all the way throughout as well. So you're just always getting new mechanics to play around with. It's just always fresh, and the story, which obviously we were just talking about there, just helps supplement and combine it all together. And it's just really masterfully done. It's yeah, I really really love it.
Yeah, same here. You know what Gavin does ask in the chat, which game console is this Ratchet and Clank game? So yeah, I didn't specify. So we are playing. Oh well, I think we're both playing on PlayStation Now, streaming it. But it
Mhm.
is originally released in 2009 on PS3. I did pull up the
Yeah.
Metacritic too to just get a sense of where it lies with the other Ratchet and Clank. So it has an 87 on Metacritic. So for some perspective, Ratchet and Clank, the PS4 version, that remake, was an 85. You got Tools for Destruction on PS3, got an 89, and then going down to the older Ratchet and Clank original on PS2, 88, with Up Your Arsenal on PS2 at 91 on Metacritic. So it definitely ranks
Mm.
really high up with all those other releases. Although if you go down their Metacritic, I mean, a lot of them are very high 80s, 90s. There's a few that have gone to 70s, but overall, Insomniac, nails it with every Ratchet and Clank release. But you're right, where it's
Yeah.
on full display with the platforming, the gunplay too. It's some of my favorite gunplay. That's what I love about them too. They're so unique with as a dev with how they bring the different types of guns and ammunition and secondary shooting. It's just like all these different unique ways of gunplay, and it's just so fun. And that's what makes it another aspect that makes it so fun to go back and play, because you're going to get these unique different ways to to shoot at enemies and create different
Yeah.
weapons and stuff. So that was on full
Yeah.
display with Crack in Time as well.
Yeah, and the weapon upgrades is something that I'm pretty sure isn't in any of the other Ratchet and Clank games, which I really love. There's a really quite deep upgrade system to the guns, offering even more levels to the way you can use them. And like you said, the weapons are they're all so special in their own way, and they all act so differently to each other and help you out in different ways. And I always find myself cycling through them when I'm in like a big combat area, because they all complement each other in lots of different ways as well. Which you see in other Insomniac games like Resistance, where they have just this arsenal of incredible weapons, which all are, none of them are throwaway ideas. They're all you can tell that they've been very well thought about and thought about in every single sort of enemy encounter that's been designed. So yeah, I mean, I love the frog sort of gun,
Oh yeah,
where
with
you
the
sort of
sonic
where it's
thing.
sort of and it breathes in and out. So depending on when you shoot, you get a more powerful burp or a less powerful one. And it took me a while to sort of realize that you have to wait for the cheeks to sort of expand, and then you press the trigger, and
Right.
which is really interesting, because it's kind of, there's not really any game I can think of where you have to time when you press the trigger to do more damage, and just having that as a weapon it makes every combat encounter you use it in even more interesting and satisfying when you pull off the perfect timing and he burps out a bigger belch. So yeah, I think it's just the weapons are, as always, a massive good point about the game.
Yeah, and I think there were times where I was frustrated by this, but I can see why they're doing it, where they do keep the ammo per weapon sort of low, but I think that's incentivizing you to then switch around to those different weapons
Yeah.
and not just relying
Yeah.
on, say, like the standard blaster you get in the beginning. So I did, once I understood that, it's like, okay, they want me to cycle through stuff. This is cool. And then you can find different ammo replacement stuff as you play along. But yeah, you mentioned the trigger component with timing when you press it. The closest I can think of, and it's not the same at all, but it's Gears of War. When you reload, there's that timing mechanism to get that perfect reload, but not the same thing at all. Going back to the chat, Gavin does ask again, how is the PlayStation Now gameplay? I think it's running smooth for my entire playthrough, but have you had any issues?
Yeah, I think I get the odd stutter every now and then, the odd delay where I'll miss a platform, but it's very infrequent. I think my main problem with PlayStation Now is it seems to remove depth from like the visuals, if that makes any sense at all. So it's kind of like it has this film over it, which kind of can sometimes make things just not look as good, make things not look as sharp, especially like edges and things like that. It just kind of makes it look like you're playing somebody's YouTube video all the
Yeah, I know what you
time.
mean.
And that could be a problem, because these, especially for these games, because they're really nice looking games. Even Tools of Destruction looks great, and I think PlayStation Now really does remove a lot of that graphical prowess from the games, just by removing that sort of depth from it, which is a shame. And I find it difficult to recommend using PlayStation Now to stream games, just because in my experience it's not something I can recommend. But I think for me personally, it's not really removing any enjoyment of the game too much. But playing it on a PlayStation 3 would be the far superior option. But considering how easy it is to do, how quickly you can get it up and streaming without having to install anything, that there are some benefits as well. But I've had some niggles with using the PlayStation Now service.
Yeah, I understand where I'm in the same boat, where it's they're doing a lot with offering such a huge, variety of games through the PlayStation Now. It's great to just jump in. It does take a little while to load, honestly, but it does take you. You can jump in, play a huge variety of games, but there are these issues with kind of sometimes lag coming in. You mentioned the resolution. It seems like they're trying to scale, and maybe that's what's messing with the the perception of depth. They just need to really optimize their pipeline, or just kind of behind the scenes tweak that service a bit to compete, because they're also going up against stuff like Game Pass, or there's not Game Pass, but Xbox is competing streaming service, where it's like the big dogs are at play now, so they have to make sure that this is calibrated to compete on that level. Uh, so I understand where you're like, I can't really recommend it just yet. It's on the cusp of that. They just need to calibrate a bit, but it's getting there. It's just they need to keep working on that and optimize that.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, Callum, I don't think either of us beat it, but we played enough of it to have a super, fun time playing it. Nothing but really positive things to say. I think maybe I had little issues with the camera here and there, but otherwise, this game still holds up. It's one of the best platformers I've ever played. Such gameplay variances with what you can do in your time playing the game. So, I mean, I'm having a blast, and I love this game.
Yeah, I'll definitely be finishing it as well. I'm really intrigued to see what's going to happen, and I want to make sure that I'm all prepared for the new Ratchet and Clank as well. But I mean, playing through this has made me even more excited for the new one. Now I know that the new one is a sequel to this series. I mean, it's a bit strange that it kind of leaves the PS4 one just on its own, but it kind of makes sense because that was based on the movie, which was based on the first game. So it kind of makes sense to have it separate. But it's a really amazing game, and I mean, they really are just a complete. I mean, there's nothing really that can compete with Ratchet and Clank in that genre. I mean, even if you look at Jak and Daxter, the first game is great, but Jak 2 and 3 went a completely different route, and I think they suffered for that. And I think that more games should be like Ratchet and Clank. I think we're screaming out for more 3D platformers, adventure games. It just so happens that Ratchet manages to nail the storytelling side of things as well. But yeah, it's really amazing, and I definitely recommend it to anybody that hasn't played it.
Nice, yeah, same here. Camel, and our PlayStation Book Club conversation for the week, and progress on to some PlayStation news. So we got a good amount here to chat about. Let's see. The first one here is just really an update on some PS5 sales data, just showing the strength of the PS5 coming out of the gate. So we got this first one here is from pushsquare.com. We got Sammy Barker update on PS5 sales. February's MPD report, which tracks hardware and software sales in the United States, reveals that the next-gen PlayStation is now the fastest-selling format in U.S. history, based on dollar sales across its first 4 months on the market. Despite the juggernaut sales of the new console, it's still getting beaten by the Nintendo Switch, which once again was the best-selling system of the month. Spend across the entire industry continues to be strong, as February 2021 saw a 35% bump year over year, with the video game industry as a whole tallying a record $4.6 billion. So that's $4.6 billion for the month of February in the United States alone, just to try and quantify how much was spent in video games for that month just in the United States is insane. But how do you feel about these sales? It seems like it's on track. Of course, no one can get one, but apparently some people can because it's selling so well.
Yeah, I think it's selling so well because scalpers are buying them by the thousands.
You might be right.
But no, it's I'm sure that they would still be selling out even if the scalpers weren't around. But yeah, I mean, it's hardly surprising. Especially during lockdown, where we really don't have anything better to do than play games.
Right.
So yeah, it's impressive for sure. Whether it'll outsell the PS2, I get it's on track to now, but whether or not it actually will is another story. Because I think the PS2 and the DVD player thing will just always outweigh anything else. But no, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see, and hopefully more people can get their hands on them, because it's becoming more and more. So many people I know desperately want one, but they just can't get one, and it's a real shame. So hopefully that will start to relax and people can get their hands on them.
Yeah, I think the only bottleneck point we're at right now is just getting enough consoles out there for people to buy. I think the
Mm.
industry is consumers are hungry and want to grab one of these, so it's just a matter of they can't find it. So it's almost
Yeah.
like they launched at the worst time. I mean, obviously, I think a bunch of different, um, manufacturing issues happened with graphics cards. There's just been the worst time for this kind of stuff. But that's the only
Mm.
issue holding these sales back is that they just can't get enough out there. Otherwise, people would be scooping these up.
You just reminded me when you said graphics cards. I was watching you and Gavin talk about buying 3060 or 3070 or something, or
Yeah, he was
3080, I
debating one
think
of
it was
those.
actually. Yeah, yeah. Can I just say, if you buy a 3080 and still have a 1080p monitor, I will not be very happy, because that is a colossal waste of your money, and I'll be very, very sad for your wallet. So please, please get a better monitor before you get a 3080.
Gavin might be in that boat because I don't know if I think he's really dragging his heels on like upgrading his monitor. So,
Mm,
but that's a great point because yeah, these newer cards are really optimized for 4K, and so yeah, you're going to get
mm,
higher frame rates, but that even bottlenecks or like reaches a limit at a certain point where it's like you might as well just start to upgrade or move
yeah.
up to a better resolution as well, and then you can still get
Mm,
awesome frame rates. So you're
yeah.
right. We'll see
Well, I
how
mean,
Gavin handles that.
you get 60 hertz 1080p monitors, um, and like a GTX 1660 Ti would max out that monitor. You wouldn't be able to see any performance increases with any other card. So I'm just looking out for your wallets. That's all. By telling you to buy very expensive monitors.
Right, right. But no, it's a great point because you have to think of all the different components in what's going on. So you have to make sure that display can handle or take advantage of the power that you now upgraded to. Otherwise, it's like, cool. Well, would you really get
Yeah,
if you have that same resolution
yeah,
and all that?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But Gavin in the chat does say I'll upgrade if I can get that card. So he's looking to drop some hot
Yeah,
dollars when he can. So
he's looking to drop some proper money
yeah.
then.
Well, let's see. He owes me $20, so I should be able to get that 20 then.
Yeah.
Nice. Alrighty, Callum, we can move on to the next one here. So we got just more interesting pictures on that PS5 development kit that was cruising around the internet way before the PS5 was showing off for the first time. We had this. All we had was this, these images of this dev kit. Wondering, is this gonna transfer over to the look of the PS5? And it turns out it didn't. But at least we got some just further detailed pictures. So I'm gonna switch over to that right now. This thing is a
It's
beast.
so horrible, isn't it?
Yes.
It's so horrible.
It's bad, but so I'm cycling through some of the pictures right now. It is bad, but I did like the weird aspect of it, and I was hoping that some of the same design ideas with like the weird venting in the middle was gonna transfer over. I was on board for just something really radical, and I think they did that with the PS5. It's definitely such a unique looking console, but none of this initial design carried over into that PS5 after all.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that the PS5 has like liquid metal cooling and some pretty sophisticated thermal stuff. They obviously wouldn't want to fork out on all of that sophisticated cooling with these development kits. So I suppose it makes sense that it's basically a PC laying on its side. But yeah, just I like how this guy's put a tape measure there, but like but it's upside down and
And
also
starting from a
between
middle
two.
point too.
Yeah. When we actually have USB ports on there, which is a pretty good like reference for size anyway. But yeah, I was gonna like try and do the maths, but I'm not very good at doing upside down maths, so I'm not even gonna bother.
I'd say roughly the width. You could see the foot point in the middle, so another 3 inches on each side. So it's like a foot and a half, basically, width wise. I don't know how that transfers over to meters, but that's your
Yeah, I was gonna
department
say
there.
I don't know what a foot is.
Yeah, well, I don't know what meters are, so. But yeah, we got some more info on it. Just pictures, rather. It's just kind of cool to go down memory lane because at a time, this is all we had were these grainy photos of this dev kit trying to imagine what the PS5 would look like.
Yeah,
And it was nowhere near what this ended up.
I quite like the back of it. The back looks quite cool. I like the central.
It's pretty clean.
Like power port and the big like starship vents on the back. That's pretty cool. But yeah, it's just the front. I don't know. It just looks like a really crappy office PC,
Sure.
like one of the HP sort of just office things. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like it's kind of weird because I suppose it is a development kit, so it's not really supposed to look good. In fact,
Yeah.
I think it's actually a bit too flamboyant for a development kit.
Right.
But yeah, it does look very strange. It looks kind of like a microwave as well.
I was hoping the
But
middle.
yeah, it's interesting.
I wanted to try to warm up a pizza slice. It's like a perfect shape to throw a little pizza slice in the middle. You got the heat from the
Yeah,
vents. There we go. It's like
yeah,
an all-in-one device.
yeah. Now you're talking. Actually, that's a very American way to look at it, and I like
Yeah.
it.
I judge every device I get. It's like, can I cook pizza? How long does it take to cook said pizza?
Like look at everything like, what food shape is this?
All right, I'll move on to our next one here. We got, as I scroll down, so Naughty Dog recruiting economy designer for the Last of Us 2's multiplayer mode. This is Sammy Barker of PushSquare.com. Spotted by GameSpot. Naughty Dog is recruiting for a new position to help with multiplayer gameplay components, most likely for the Last of Us 2 factions. The blurb should give you a good idea of what kind of tasks the candidate will be responsible for. We're looking for a passionate multiplayer economy designer who can help us create avenues for self-expression for our players, ensure robust longevity to our games, and give our players great rewards to strive for. The job description continues that recruitments will be required to design and tune game economy and progression, and collaborate extensively with the live operations team to optimize economy and respond to players' needs. Callum, if we were to devise, try and pick apart anything from this job title and transcend this into the gameplay mechanics and what's going on in Factions 2, can you imagine anything from this? Are they really trying to figure out how to keep that gameplay loop and that grind continuous so they keep players in that world?
I think it's similar to what we were saying about Call of Duty earlier, where you've got the moment-to-moment gameplay where you're having fun, and then you have the UI where you spend a lot of your time sorting out your weapons, looking at checking your ranks, and in the Last of Us One multiplayer, you even had that sort of meta game where you had your survivors, and that sort of dictated the games you were in and what you had to do in those games and what it meant for your journey, which translated into your rank. It was quite a complex sort of progression system, but one that worked really, really well. So I imagine, I'd like to hope that the game modes and the gameplay and the weapon balancing and all of that is done, or if not, unattached to this at least. Because I'd imagine this is how much XP to this level if they're going to do it that way. How's the leveling going to work? When are they going to unlock this weapon? How are they going to unlock this? How long is it going to take to do this? I imagine it's that kind of thing, just sort of pacing that sort of progression and making sure that it's satisfying, which is important to focus on. And going back to Call of Duty again, just because it's the only multiplayer game I've really played in a few years, that doesn't have a lot of that because you can just buy all these crazy variants of each weapon. That there isn't that thing to really strive towards or to level up towards. So at least they're explaining in the job description that that's what they're trying to achieve, and basing it on the Last of Us One multiplayer, which did it phenomenally well. I can imagine that this is going to be great. I'm trying to sort of think about how far along this means it is. You'd hope that the gameplay's done or at least ready to go, and the game modes and the maps are designed and everything like that. And this is just to make sure that the progression's fun. Kind of I suppose, a kind of QA stage, because they're going to have to play through a lot of this multiplayer to know whether the progression's satisfying, whether it's moving at a good rate, and whether weapons are being unlocked in a fair way, or if they do go back to these sort of survivor things, make sure that the challenges you have to do are fair and that they scale and all of this stuff. So hopefully that this is a sign that it's in that QA, that testing stage, they're just making sure that it's rewarding and that people are going to stick around and play it for a while.
I would agree with you on that. I think the content is there. They just now are in calibration mode and adjusting it, just like you said. So there's going to be a lot of just playtime with adjusting all these different components, make sure they play well together and that they feel satisfying and feel fair.
Mhm.
Then I wonder if they can nail a holiday 2021 launch for this. I don't know if they tend to. Last of Us, I know is delayed, but tends to release later to midpoint of a year, I guess, going from the last two. But I wonder if they maybe try and launch for or make sure they try and get to that 2021 holiday season and maybe pair this with
Mm.
that PS5 upgrade. I keep thinking they're going to be tied together, but maybe not. Maybe this is just standalone. But yeah, where would you imagine going off of this when they could actually launch this game?
I'd like to think it would be much sooner than that, but I really don't know just because they've been so quiet about it. I heard rumors. I don't know whether they're true or not, but that there's going to be an Abby DLC as well.
Mm,
So whether or not they'll come paired together, I don't know how true that is. But I'd like to imagine it's a similar time of year that The Last of Us 2 came out last year. Um, so yeah, I'm not 100% sure when it could be coming, but I'm hoping for like a summer release or something like
yeah,
that. Because I mean, the first Last of Us had such a incredible multiplayer, and that's coming from someone who's not a huge fan of multiplayer games. It was just so brilliantly done, and I just hope that they can. They don't have to do too much with this one. They just need to add on to what they already did really well and just keep it grounded and intense and exciting and hopefully they'll do that and hopefully it will be coming sooner rather than later.
I agree. We will see. The idea of the of Abby DLC sounds really cool. I know that her
Mm,
character is super divisive online, but I would love the idea of them doubling down and go, yeah, here's some more Last of Us 2 content. It's all about Abby. Here you go, you fucks, and just
mhm.
like pushing that out the door. I would love to
Yeah,
see that.
yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of time with that character that isn't shown, and I think they could definitely do something there. I think that's more
Well,
likely than touching Joel or the la-
mm,
or Ellie at all anymore. I
mhm.
think that's way more likely.
Well, you've got Abby and I can't remember the name of the kid now.
Yeah,
Rem, something like that.
sounds about right.
Yeah, because they go off on the boat, so they've got something to explore there. I don't think Ellie goes back, and walks off or whatever. I think that's best left there. I don't think there's anything really to pick up on there. I think it
Yeah,
would just feel a bit too much if they did that. But Abby and Lem or whatever their name is, they're now going off on a boat trying to find these fireflies. There's a hook there for sure, and I'd be interested to see what's going on, and I'd love to, any excuse to play more story related content on that. So that would be cool. But again, I literally saw it on Twitter, so
okay.
that I mean, yeah, I don't need to say anything else.
Yeah, someone's uncle that works at Naughty Dog claims that this is going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, come. Got the next one here. Square Enix presents digital showcase announced. Will include reveal of new Life is Strange game. This is Jonathan Dornbush of IGN. Square Enix has announced a Nintendo Direct style digital showcase. Square Enix Presents, which is set to reveal new games like a new Life is Strange and give updates on existing ones like Marvel's Avengers and the upcoming Outriders. Square Enix Presents will premiere March 18th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. The full lineup includes a reveal of the next Life is Strange series game, Outriders, Balan Wonderworld, the ongoing celebration for the 25th anniversary of Tomb Raider, Marvel's Avengers, Just Cause Mobile, new mobile game announcements for the award-winning Square Enix Montreal studio, and a look at a few of the whimsical games from Square Enix sister company Taito. Cal, are you excited for this? No Final Fantasy news, it looks like, tied with this at
Hmm.
all?
Yeah, that's interesting because I mean we're expecting Final Fantasy 16 news at least, and they've announced that new Final Fantasy 7 Ever Crisis or After Crisis or something, the mobile game, which I think
Oh,
actually looks really really cool. So yeah, I mean there's nothing really here that I care about. I'm not a fan of Life is Strange. I tried playing the first, I just couldn't get on with it. And yeah, the rest of them I'm not, not too interested about, but hopefully they might sneak on a little bit of maybe a little chocobo
Right.
or a little emo haircut or something to wet the whistle. But yeah, no, I mean I've heard of Outriders. I saw you and Gavin talking about it as well, and that seems like it could be something interesting. But yeah, I don't know what Balan Wonderworld is either.
No. Yeah. It's something. But
Yeah, they just do crazy things over at Square Enix.
they do. And I think we're seeing this a lot more. These different companies, publishers just doing their own stream, and just that
Mhm.
seems like that is the way to go now. That's the future, not waiting for these
Yeah,
big events. They no longer exist
yeah,
because of COVID. But I think even after that, we're just going to have these companies dropping news when they
yeah.
want to drop it.
It's like the Xbox and Bethesda. I know they did a little video thing, and that was pretty out of the blue, and obviously had huge news. Um, so yeah, I think these companies are just doing their own thing. It's probably a lot more cost effective and it gets the exact same results. I mean, we still all see it and we still all talk about it. It's not like there's people going, "Oh, I didn't hear about that Just Cause mobile game because E3 wasn't on or anything like that."
Right.
The Just Cause mobile is probably a really bad example. It was just the first words I saw, but
There's one guy out there.
yeah, people are gonna see the news regardless of whether it's at E3 or not. So
Yeah.
it's why I never understand why they show FIFA at E3. I mean, like people are going to buy FIFA whether or not it's
Right.
shown at E3. So it was already getting quite redundant. And although it's a really cool event and I love like staying up really late to watch it, it's not something that's necessary. And COVID's just kind of forced that thought even more.
Yep. I agree. All right, Kami did mention that Bethesda Xbox deal. We should jump into that one next one to the show there, because that does affect PlayStation, and that was the big question going
Mm.
forward before this deal became final, and it did last week. So we got future Bethesda games will ship where Game Pass exists. This is from Liam Croft of PushSquare.com. Revealed as part of a roundtable discussion between Microsoft and Bethesda leads, Xbox head Phil Spencer said titles from each of the 8 studios it has now acquired will ship where Game Pass exists, not on any PlayStation consoles then, essentially. The full quote is as follows: "If you're an Xbox customer, the thing I want you to know is that this is about delivering great exclusive games to you that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists." Prior to that, Phil Spencer once again confirms Microsoft will honor any pre-existing deals, such as Sony's timed exclusivity contracts for Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo. So, Calum, this is really confirming. Looks like going forward, we're not going to get any PlayStation games besides the ones that are already promised. They did mention quickly just legacy games. So if there's like a remaster or collection, those games may likely come to PlayStation. Say if there's like a Elder Scrolls or a Fallout collection, those could still release on PlayStation. But how do you feel about them finally locking and having these exclusives on that Xbox platform?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I wasn't too sort of, because I know before this happened, everyone was like, "Oh my god, like, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen?" But I think as long as they're on Game Pass, I don't mind because then I get them for my subscription fee of like £8 a month. So I was just happy that they were coming to Game Pass in the first place. But yeah, no, it's a big move. I mean, I think the thing is, for me personally, I don't think Bethesda themselves. I know that id Software obviously made Doom Eternal, which was great. Machine Games made Wolfenstein, which was great, and they're making Indiana Jones. And you've got Arcane, who obviously doing Deathloop. But Bethesda themselves, I mean, I loved Fallout 4. I know a lot of people didn't. I didn't really like Skyrim very much, and Fallout 76 was not good at all. So I think before I get excited about what Bethesda have coming, like Starfield or Elder Scrolls 6. I need to see a reason to be excited because Bethesda lost, a lot of my sort of hope back when Skyrim came out, being a massive Oblivion fan and playing Skyrim, which for me felt like a big downgrade. And Fallout 4, although I really enjoyed it, you could definitely tell that it was more streamlined and action based. And then Fallout 76 was just the sort of cherry on top, really. So I'm hoping that Microsoft's acquisition means Bethesda will be held to a higher accountability of their quality, um, because they obviously have great writers, great teams, and great storytellers and world builders. They just need to make good games, which I don't think they have done in quite a while. So I think the biggest get is id Software and Arcane and Machine Games. I think they're the big gets for Xbox, and I can't wait to be able to download all these games as well. Like Oblivion, for example, that's famously awful to play through Steam just because of compatibility problems and things like that. So, but on Xbox Game Pass, that's like a new version of it. So, I imagine that will be great to jump back into, and it's just great for gaming, isn't it? I mean, all these amazing games on this one service, and then the future games will be there day one. It's just great, and I know that this has caused a lot of vitriol about exclusivity and people trying to pick holes in it and saying, "Oh, well, it doesn't matter or whatever," but or it does matter or whatever. But for me, I think just just get an Xbox or get a PC, or if you need to. I get that they're expensive machines, but you can get an Xbox Series S for what, like $200 and something dollars, and
Yeah.
PCs nowadays are pretty much essential things to have just for life. I mean, you can do so much work and things on them, especially working from home. And a lot of offices I know in the UK are not even going back to office based working. So PCs are just one of those things that are modern day essentials anyway. So I don't think people need to worry so much about what's exclusive where, and because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if you've got that system and you can play it, then that's all that matters. And it's just spurred on a lot more of these console war rhetoric, and it's just very boring and stupid.
Yeah, I wonder if the vitriol is from. It seems like it's obviously from the PlayStation fan base, from those trolls, anyways. They're fine with the exclusives when it comes to God of War and Last of Us, all these dope games, Spider-Man. But now that the competition has secured some pretty substantial exclusives, now there's like, okay, we got to talk about this whole exclusivity thing. This is getting out of hand. It's like, no, they're playing the game just like PlayStation's been playing the game for a long time now, and they finally have something that is really big that is causing consumers out there to now think, okay, which direction do I want to go? But you brought up good points where, yes, you can play this on PC. You can play this also on mobile. They have that Game Pass app on phones, on tablets. So it's like you can get this for even cheaper than having to buy a Series S, which is that lower grade or that cheaper model now. So there are a bunch of options. It's not like you're completely locked out of that ecosystem. But this is what I've wanted from Xbox for a long time now. PlayStation has been playing this game where they lock these exclusives. They give people a reason to go to PlayStation. And I think that's why, one of the reasons why they're so successful this last generation. Well, I've been waiting for Xbox to do this, and now they finally have, where they're giving you a reason for why you need to jump over here. I think they had to cover some ground and be as consumer friendly as they could be, gaining ground on PlayStation when they were succeeding over them with PS4 to Xbox One. But now they have a reason to lock this thing out and give just consumers a reason to buy their console in the first place. Because before you could play it on PC, and they're allowing crossplay and all these dope things, but now they really need to, put the pedal to the floor and double down on these exclusive games. And I think it's awesome. It's needed to happen. And arguably, when these huge companies have to compete with each other over exclusives, we win because they make these various deals. Say like Game Pass, I think was born out of Xbox having to compete with PlayStation in the first place. So I think we as consumers win when these companies have to compete with each other.
Yeah, I think and the other sort of things I've been seeing as well is before they announced this, because the first sort of little statement they released was quite it could be interpreted in different ways, and you saw a lot of Xbox fans upset at the idea that these could be coming to PlayStation. And I think for me, it just being on Game Pass day one is enough to attract people to Xbox, because I think, like I said to you before, I mean, PlayStation is my main place where I play games, mostly because of trophies and just ease of access. But if whatever Bethesda game came out, whether it's the new Indiana Jones, a new Wolfenstein, a new Doom, or a new Elder Scrolls or Fallout or whatever, I would 100% not play that on PlayStation because of the opportunity to get it on Game Pass. That is a huge draw for anybody. I mean, it's either paying 70 or £70 or not paying £70, and I think that's a big no-brainer, and adds up quickly. So I think the fact that they are actually exclusive to Xbox is a massive get for them, but I also don't think it would have been such a problem had they came to PlayStation. Still, I get what you're saying, that they need it'd be nice for them to have exclusives like PlayStation, but I don't think they need to necessarily go down the same route as PlayStation either, because I think Game Pass is a very unique way to do things, and is something PlayStation could never compete with. And so I don't think it was. I don't think it's the be all and end all that these games, were going to be exclusively to Xbox or not, because Game Pass is just an incredible service, and the fact that these are going to be so affiliated with that is already just a huge boost, in my opinion. But it's the same as when you saw PlayStation fans getting angry when Days Gone went to PC, and like I just don't get this kind of tribal mentality around consoles. I just don't. I just can't fathom it, where people are annoyed that people can experience these games on a different platform to the one they prefer. It just, and that's the kind of thing I didn't understand when all these Xbox fans were saying, "Oh, I hope that doesn't mean these games are going to PlayStation." It's like, why do you care? You're going to be able to play this game on your Xbox on Game Pass day one.
Right.
Why do you care about who can play it elsewhere? It's just such a baffling thought process. But no, I'm glad they're exclusive, because then all these people can stop moaning about it and worry. But no, it's really cool. It's just interesting. I mean, to see these things happen. It's just interesting to watch and see, and we'll see how Bethesda do, and how these studios do under Microsoft's sort of supervision, and with all their money as well. So it's really exciting. I'm really excited to see what's going to come, what new games are to come, because we don't really know. Microsoft do have all these exclusives now, but we don't even know what they are, which is even more exciting, I think.
Yeah, the next coming years are going to be incredibly exciting for Xbox, because they've been having all this stuff cooking in the oven, acquiring all these devs for the past 2-3 years, and now we're going to start to see some of this stuff come to fruition. Then you have the Bethesda acquisition thrown in there and what they've been working on behind the scenes, so it's going to get pretty nuts, and I'm here for it. I was going to put some attention on Gavin in the chat. He mentioned, I appreciate that Phil Spencer made their terms very clear. Yeah, it was nice to finally put that stamp on it, because it was, like you mentioned, vague in the beginning. There's a lot of curiosity, wonder, and now we officially know going forward it's going to be on Game Pass, wherever Game Pass is too. So that's part of the next issue, is that do we see Game Pass go to crazy places like Switch, which has been rumored for a long time? I feel like it's insane to see a future where we see it on PlayStation, but this Game Pass service, as long as you have that, wherever that may be, you have access to all these games. So it's just a matter of what are they going to launch this on next?
Yeah, it's I think if it came to Switch, it would be really great. I think it would make sense on Switch, just because Nintendo are just so in their own bubble, not having modern internet capabilities and things like that,
Right.
and not putting their. No, I'm only joking. I think Nintendo are just they're just so bespoke, and people just always love them, and their fans are just so diehard, and they're even though they always use the same sort of franchises and everything, people still love them, and they've got a massive JRPG list, which is actually what's attracting me to get one. All these games like Bravely Default and all those kind of things. And there's another one as well, I can't remember. There's so many, and they've all got really weird names, but they're all sort of Nintendo exclusive. But I think Xbox would work well on there, because a lot of these games aren't on Nintendo and won't ever be on Nintendo Switch, so it makes sense. Whereas I think if it's been put on PlayStation, it'd be very messy, like semantics wise, because you'll have two versions of these games on the PlayStation Store and then on Xbox, and it will just be a bit of a mess. And obviously it takes away a huge amount of revenue from PlayStation as well. It stops them from being able to explore their own way. I mean, that would be great for me if it was put on a PS, or it was put on PlayStation, especially if I could get the trophies on those games, because that would be just perfect if I could do that. I would never leave the house again. But yeah, we'll see what happens, and Maybe they should just fold Xbox and just call it Game Pass, and just do that, because that would just make things so much tidier and easier to handle.
Yeah, you brought up an interesting fold to the whole idea of them going to PlayStation, and at some point where you download that Game Pass app, you have access to those games, but those are still Xbox games that you were then streaming or playing. So do trophies even pop at that point, or do you actually earn achievements rather on your PlayStation? But it's only through that.
That's what I mean.
app.
I think it would be just such a mess to.
Yeah.
I just don't think anybody would even not out of affiliation to a company or anything. I just think they just can't be bothered to think about, like, in their head, like, how that would work. Like,
yeah, and it's a business issue too.
It would just be really confusing. And I already get confused by the PS5 UI, so I don't need any
another portal to get through. Although on Switch, I think it'd be perfect there, because a lot of those the Switch is struggling to keep up with these different ports and getting these games to work on Switch. And there's rumors of a Switch Pro coming out this year, but we'll see how that happens. But if not, the best way to get these games on Switch in any form is just through Game Pass, with streaming the actual games and not needing to play them physically. I guess it's more xCloud territory, but if you could then stream to your Switch, you don't have to worry about the performance level. It's just streaming that game. They have access to all these games. It gives the Switch more legs, although it doesn't need it, because it's outselling everyone every month, so it doesn't really matter there. But yeah, it could just offer another library of games to Switch users, and it could just improve those sales further. So it's going to be interesting. We're in the very beginning of it, but it's going to start to heat up with these console battles now. Yeah,
I mean, I just want trophies on everything, really. if Nintendo Switch had trophies, I would be all over that. I don't know what it is about them. I just really, really like them very, very much.
Yeah, the metagame, aspect of it, of pursuing a task and getting that little reward on top of doing the thing. Yep, I hear you.
Yeah. I mean, and I think with Game Pass, I think because the games are free essentially, I don't mind playing it. I don't mind playing games on my PC. I play games on my PC all the time, and so it's not a complete tether where I won't play it because it won't have trophies. But it is a big draw for me, and it is a big deciding point on what platform I'll get this game or get a game. But I think with Xbox Game Pass, that trumps the whole trophy thing, because I prefer free games over trophies. That's like my list of priorities: free and then trophies.
Yeah,
and then everything else.
Gavin does ask another interesting question. So Game Pass, do we see Game Pass come into Stadia or Amazon streaming service, much in the way EA Play did? Yeah, so EA is transplanted onto PlayStation and Xbox systems as well. Do you think we could see xCloud come to Game Pass, or no, Game Pass come to Stadia or Amazon?
What's Stadia?
So, Jesus.
No, yeah, I think if Stadia is still around when
that's
that
a big
is made, then maybe. I think in all seriousness, I think they're good platforms to aim for, just because, again, they're struggling to really put their own stamp anywhere, so they could just be used as like an avenue for more people to access it. But I'm not sure. Is there anybody who only has a Stadia or only has an Amazon, whatever that even is, the Amazon thing?
Yeah, their streaming service. I forget the name of it. It's like Pearl or some kind of short name.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right. I don't think there is one user out there that just has a streaming device, like, say, the Stadia or Amazon thing.
Yeah.
It'd be strange to just go that route. Because
if there is, they need to. If there is someone who only uses Stadia, they need to take a good hard look at themselves and sort themselves out.
Yeah, maybe they were mugged and all their stuff was stolen, and they just left the Stadia behind, and that's all they got.
Yeah,
I can understand that.
I don't want that.
That's torture. Yeah, we're gonna take everything, but we're gonna leave you your Stadia. It's like, no, just kill me. Just don't leave you.
Just a completely empty house with a Stadia. Still, they didn't even have a Stadia before they were mugged.
Oh, that's diabolical. Alrighty, Callum, we're at the end of our show here. We can end it there for the week. Where can they find you online?
Twitter at Bear Monroe is where I lurk.
Yes. And you can find us as well on Twitter at Plastic Art Pod. That's it for us this week. We'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.
See you later.